It's another opening night on the road that the St. Louis Blues have to defy all of the pressure on them. I'll talk about this coming up here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. It is Thursday, October 10th, and I am your host, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I will be talking about the fact that the Blues play another opening night game on the road. Now, luckily, this is the last opening night game the Blues will play on the road due to the fact that the VGK, who the Blues will play in a couple of days, defeated the Colorado Avalanche. So that is definitely nice. I will be talking about the lineup and predictions for this game. And of course, leadership and growth, because there was a player that kind of stood out to Coach Bannister that he just talked about, that I'm going to explain why I feel like this player is going to have a breakout season. We have a lot to get to on today's episode. Of course, it is a game day, which means that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Now, that just kind of worked out that Gametime was my sponsor, and it's a game day, and I kind of thought that flowed. However, the Blues do have a big game today. Well, tonight, late night hockey, as they are going to be playing the San Jose Sharks for their opening debut at home. Now, this is the first game the Sharks will play all season, so season opener, home opener, all in one. And of course, they have Celebrini and Will Smith, and a lot of pressure is put on the Blues tonight because last season, in case you don't remember, and I am so sorry that I have to be the one to bring this up to you, they went 0-2-1 against San Jose. The Blues were also the only team in the NHL last season that were unable to defeat the San Jose Sharks. Yeah, not a fun fact. It is a brutal fact, a fact that kind of kept me up at night because for whatever reason, the Blues just could not beat San Jose. And let's be completely honest, there is a lot of pressure put on St. Louis tonight. I mean, you have the first overall draft pick within Celebrini playing his first NHL game. Yeah. That's pressure. It's on ESPN Plus for a reason because that is pressure put on the St. Louis Blues. You have the San Jose team. Now, while I think the Blues do have better talent, there is no denying that San Jose has these young athletic players that do bring a lot. And I think, looking at this game, you can't shy away from the fact that this might be more tough than the Kraken even. I think with Seattle, the Blues, they did not get off to a good start. I mean, they didn't have a good first half of the game. They had a good second half of the game, obviously, with the comeback goals. However, that first half was slow, and that first period especially. When I am thinking about this game tonight, I can't justify the Blues not playing well in the first period. It is unacceptable. They need to come out strong from the start. And one of the players in, the game that the Blues won a couple of days ago on Tuesday was Jordan Kyrou. And he had a great game. Now, yes, you could argue that he had a great second half of the game, but I thought he actually played pretty consistent throughout the entirety of the game. And I'm going to play you this clip that Kyrou said about the game because I think it's important for you to understand that the shift in momentum really did have a big impact on the St. Louis Blues.
I think that first period we kind of started off a little slow. We were playing a little hesitant, not being aggressive on pucks, and kind of after walks and Torpo and Faxa, they scrummed it up a little bit there, got the boys going a little bit, and we started playing our game. Yeah, it just gets you pumped up. First game of the year, it's excitement and it's exciting, and seeing the boys fight for you like that, it's awesome. So it just gets you pumped up.
And he did talk about how it gets you pumped up and how it was exciting to see the momentum on the ice. But the Blues need to achieve that early on. You cannot wait. You cannot be hesitant. You have to just go after the puck as soon as that first period begins. Because if they get caught in a behind situation again, do I feel like they can come from behind like that? I don't know. not against the San Jose team. And, I know I've talked a lot about San Jose, Mackenzie Blackwood even, and Ned, and I know that there is a lot of eyes on this game, which is why I do get a little bit hesitant because it's so easy to write off the San Jose Sharks. And this is coming from an unbiased point right now. Unbiased Haley at the moment. It is easy for people to write off the San Jose Sharks, despite the fact that they do have good talent on that team that you should be concerned about. I think that the Sharks, looking at the Blues, they have reason to be concerned too. I mean, you have two former Edmonton Oilers players within Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway that did make an impact in the last game. I think that if you're the Sharks, you'd be concerned about that. I think there is a lot more to be concerned about with the Blues. However, with a player like Celebrini, that is one of those generational type players that you hear about, I mean, listen, we heard all about Connor Bedard here in the Central Division, and we still do. So I feel like there is just something about those first overall picks that make me a little bit nervous because while Bedard didn't have maybe the best season last season, he still played good hockey. And even though, some of these first round picks may not, and first overall, let me clarify that one, may not be the best, they still can make an impact. And it's very impressive. There's only 2 players from this year's draft class that are going to be playing NHL minutes, which is Celebrini, and then on the Philadelphia Flyers, Jet Luchenko, who was the 13th overall pick. So the fact that you only have 2 players coming out of this draft class that will be playing NHL minutes, it says that, hey, this might be a really talented player that you might have to think twice about. I know Will Smith, I was a big Will Smith fan, and I really wanted him for the Blues. And I kind of get like that. There are certain players that you kind of talk about a little bit. You get excited about them and their potential, and then they end up on another team, and you're just like your public enemy number one. And I think that's fine. I mean, listen, I'm really happy that the Blues drafted who they drafted, right? I think that, like there's Quentin Musty. There's a lot of players that the Sharks have that I really wanted the Blues to have. And he was number 4 overall in the draft. It was which year was it? It was definitely last season, right? Yeah, it was last season. I get the draft classes messed up now because I've been doing so much draft coverage. I feel like I just kind of combine players. But yeah, you have your 4th overall pick from last year's draft. You have your number 1 overall pick from this year's draft. Yeah, I'm a little nervous. And they also were able to draft Quentin Musty, who was another player that I wanted for the Blues. The Sharks were really aggressive with their drafting, and I think that they just kind of redefined their team. They went from being a team that was a little bit washed up, respectfully, okay, to being a team that's young and aggressive, and that makes me, as a Blues fan, as a team out in the West, nervous. But I do think the Blues have the better overall talent. However, opening night on the road is tough, okay? The Blues had opening day, which was really strange, honestly, for them to be playing a 1:30 game their time. But, of course, it had to be talked about the debuts, and Coach Bannister said about Celebrini and Smith, they're high-skilled players, okay? They're skilled, and we saw that in Seattle with the opening, nights and all that. He says that this group will come out with a lot of energy, and they need to start better than they did in Seattle. So I think that was a really important thing that Bannister said was, hey, he's acknowledging the fact that Celebrini and Smith are really talented players and that this is a younger team. And he did mention how the energy from the fans are going to be off the roof for a game like tonight. I mean, listen, this is literally going to be on ESPN Plus. So he kind of just talked about too, there can be a lot of distraction with opening nights, and you have to focus on the task at hand. And he kind of did talk a little bit about opening night here in St. Louis coming up soon. And I think the thing is, opening nights are fun as a fan, right? It's like their first time you're seeing your team on the ice. It gets you pumped up as a hockey fan. I love opening nights. However, I can understand from the perspective of being an NHL coach Yeah, opening nights are cool and all, but it still counts towards the same 82 games that we're going to play all season. So they have a job and they know that. And I think that just acknowledging the fact, hey, yeah, opening nights are cool, but we do have this job at hand is kind of a reason why I'm liking what Bannister is doing this season, especially. But you know what I like to do too? I like to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can get started this season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. I know I am somebody that loves to bet on football. I bet on football a little bit too much. And the San Francisco 49ers are at Seattle tonight taking on the 3-2 Seahawks. Listen, I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but would I be upset if the 49ers lost? Absolutely not. So you bet on those Seattle Seahawks, okay? You want them to go 4-2. So I'm just saying, if you have any, self-respect and you're sick of a fan base, aka the 49ers that are the most annoying fan base in the NFL, you will bet on the Seattle Seahawks. As I said, I will be talking to you because today is a pregame show about the lineup and my predictions for tonight's game against the San Jose Shark. I made a little graphic because, my little graphic designer self was like, let's go add some more show elements. So if you're on YouTube and you're noticing that I'm adding some player interviews with visual, if you're noticing different graphics, that is because this season I said, you know what, last season was cool and all, it was my first, full season being your host of Locked On Blues, but I wanted to elevate this podcast and take it to a new level, which is why show prep goes on for 2 hours a day, which is why I'm adding these graphic designs, which is why I'm adding so much more to this podcast, because I want you, my everydayers, to get the best Blues information conversation from this podcast. So all that being said and done, let's talk about I had to kind of go around and edit. Again, this is very new. But anyways, let's talk about tonight's lineups. And yes, I'm in the corner of the screen. I'm still here. I just wanted to be able to show you the graphic. Anyways, on the first line, centering, we have Robert Thomas, because it is Robert Thomas season, who goes into this game with 1 assist. Let's go, Robert Thomas. Then on the left wing, you have Dylan Holloway. On the right wing, you have Jakey Neighbors. I like this a lot. Then on the second line, you have Bush. And then on his left, you have Texier. And on his right, you have Jordan Kyrou. Then on the third line, you have centering captain Braden Shen. And then you have Matthew Joseph on the left and Kasperi Kapanen on the right. Then centering the fourth line, you have Foxa. Then you have Torpachenko on the left and Nathan Walker on the right. On defense, you have Big Fish Nicoletti on the left and Colton Parayko on the right, which is the best first pair that you could really have for the St. Louis Blues team. I think that this honestly works so well. Then you have Philip Broberg on the left and Justin Folk on the right. Finally, with your third pair on the left, you have Ryan Suter, and then you have Matthew Kessel on the right. Let's go, Matthew Kessel. And then in net, you have Joel Hofer. Joel Hofer, yes, you do. Joel Hofer will be making his season debut. Now, I know what you're thinking, Hale. Come on. Like, you just saw, essentially, Binner play, and then all of a sudden you're having Joel Hofer. Well, I think that Bannister said it best, that, hey, we put together a plan over the month and we're going to stick with it. And that's just been the plan. Now, I understand that the San Jose Sharks have become a better team and there is no denying that. But I think having Joel Hofer in net for this game is actually good. He played really well, really, really well last season. You're playing a team, and I hate to be this way, even though I do think that this team will be a little bit more difficult than last season. I'm talking about the San Jose Sharks. I think that they're still not one of the best teams in the NHL, which is a fair statement to say. So why wouldn't you give Joel Hofer the start? I do, however, feel like it was kind of a mistake, in my opinion, to have the first two lines be the way that they are. When Coach Bannister switched Dylan Holloway and Bushi last game, the Blues played significantly better. So in my opinion, what I would have done if I were coaching this team is that I would have put Bush on Robert Thomas's left and put Holloway centering the second line. However, I do understand that you are playing a team that isn't maybe, and I hate saying this because they're still a good team, isn't as good as the Seattle Kraken. So I understand the reasoning as to why. However, what I will say is that if it doesn't work, you're going to have to switch it again. I know that they want Bush to center, but at the end of the day, if Dylan Holloway is doing a better job of that and Bush is doing a better job playing on the wing, I would just go with that. You want the team to be successful, and it's not necessarily a diss at any of those players if it just works out better for them. Now, an interesting thing is, too, I'm looking at this defense, right? And I know that we have Scott Perunovich who didn't make the roster, but realistically, would you just put him where Suter is? Because there's no way Suter can play all 82 games or play the minutes that are sustainable. So it makes you just think that. But other than that, I really like the defense. I love Broberg and Justin Folk together. I love Nick Leddy and Colton Parayko together. So I am happy with that. But do you have any concerns whatsoever about this lineup? If so, let me know. Again, as I said, I would love to run this lineup back from when they did switch those two players. But I do have some predictions for tonight because on Locked On Blues, not only do I like to give my own predictions, I like to hear what you say, especially on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, because you are just as important to this podcast as anything else. So I said on Twitter at Locked On Blues, where you can find all of my random tweets, who scores tonight, hashtag STL Blues. And Phil says Matthew Joseph, Zach says Folk, Thomas Torpo. JT Law says Holloway, Neighbors, Torpo. Sean says, as long as we win and beat San Jose, I'll pick anyone from the Blues to score, and I will make that 3-0. And then Jerry says Holloway. Now, the last game against Seattle, I said that Jordan Kyrou was going to score, and I did say Dylan Holloway was going to score. However, Kyrou scored twice. At least Holloway got the assist on Broberg's goal, which was kind of cool to see. But tonight, I know you're saying that you want to see a shutout win. Do I think that's going to happen? I do not. I'm sorry. That's a little negative. I do think that there is going to be a goal from San Jose tonight, and I have a feeling it might be Celebrini just because I know how the hockey gods work. And the hockey gods, they do that kind of stuff, okay? It's inevitable, okay? However, I do think the Blues will win. And I think tonight we're going to see that Dylan Holloway goal. I also think we're going to see a Jake Neighbors goal. I think Robert Thomas will assist on both of the goals. So that is my predictions. Now, I would love to see Kyrou score. I would love to see Captain Braden Shen score. I would love to even see Foxa score or even give me a Nathan Walker as a wild card. However, I do think that Neighbors and Holloway are both going to score tonight. Now, if Robert Thomas scores tonight, your girl will be happy because it's always RT season. However, those are just my predictions. The lineup looks strong, okay? There is no update, by the way, on Brandon Saad's baby because that has been asked. Yeah, like he's not on this trip for a reason because his child is literally about to be born. But I'm sure that the Blues will put out something once the child is born. And again, wishing nothing but the best to the Saad family. It's funny because he is $4.5 million that's hitting our cap right now, even though he's not playing. So I kind of feel a little bit invested in this birth just because that money is kind of going towards it all. I'm joking with you. I'm joking. But that is true. The money is literally going to our cap right now. So even though he is not on this trip and he's not playing, the money is still there. But I was joking when I said that, by the way, about being invested. Like, I am invested in the fact that I do hope that he has a great experience becoming, just child. Woohoo. All right. Anyways, I will be talking to you about some leadership and growth that Coach Bannister saw within the team and some thoughts that I have on that as well. However, what I do need to talk to you about today is my friends over at Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing that I love about Gametime Picks, it has a super deal, and the super deal is awesome because it really is curated just towards you because it's going to know the system's going to know, okay? It's going to know where you like to sit. If you like to sit on the upper bowl, the lower bowl, it will know what you like, and it will find you not only the best seats, but the best prices. You can even see the seat view before you buy. So literally, Game Time Picks makes it so you're always having the most incredible experience. I know the WWE was just out in St. Louis at Enterprise, and then you had, NXT at the Factory. You really had all the opportunity in the world to use Game Time for that. But if you're somebody that's like me and you're waiting towards hockey season, definitely check out Game Time. So this is what you need to do. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. I feel like I'm one of those Blues fans, right? That's on Blues Twitter. And I love how many of you are into the WWE. I am as well. I love that we have Randy Orton that's from here in St. Louis. And then we have Sexy Red. I know she's not a wrestler, but she was like opening up Raw. And she's like, hey, make it. And then, anyways, I love how many of you love the WWE. One of us, because the WWE is like my obsession. I love Dominic Mysterio. Anyways, let's continue on and talk more about what Coach Bannister said. So Bannister said a lot of interesting things today after morning skate. One of them was kind of about two players that I personally am a fan of. And it's about Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou and how they grow together in the game. So Bannister said they spent a lot of time together out in the OHL playing against each other. And while they were both drafted in separate years, they really had a lot of camps and different things like that together. Now, as you know, Robert Thomas spent no time in the AHL. Kyrou did a little bit. But again, he just went on to say, despite that, they still spent a lot of time together. They're a big part of our leadership. Okay, this is what Bannister said. And Jordan is growing into that. I don't see any reason for them not to grow into their roles. And one thing that I talked about over the summer, and I know I got a comment yesterday saying, you wanted Jordan Kyrou to be traded. Okay, yeah, I did at one point. I do episodes every single day. Sometimes my opinion will change. And I was very adamant about that I was wrong on that opinion. But I just wanted to address that. I always own up to things that I say that are not how I feel at the moment. Anyways, one of the things I said over the summer this year was that I could see Jordan Kyrou wearing a letter in the next couple seasons. If it's not Bushi, it's Kyrou. And I think Jordan Kyrou has displayed resilience. He's displayed that he's willing to grow and work hard. And we saw that with the 2 goals that he had in the last game. I mean, he is a vital piece to this team. He's a top 6 player for a reason. Now, do I think that Kyrou will be on that top line? Maybe here to there. Why not? I think Jordan Kyrou, I mean, despite the fact that he is 25, which is, I'm 25, so like it's not old in any way. But, he's not a young guy necessarily anymore. Oh my gosh, I hate saying that kind of stuff because I'm like, I still feel it. But the bottom line is that he has made improvements. And I think that it's about time that he does get the respect that he does deserve. And he even looked really good in camp. I was really impressed with Ruzi. Anyways, Bannister also talked about Suter and Foxa and their role. And he said that this is going to be a combined effort with those two, as well as Broberg and Holloway with the playoff experience that they had last year. Obviously, you can't deny the fact that Broberg and Holloway both played in the finals, right? So he said our leadership will grow, especially with having those players and having the younger guys to kind of rely on them. But he also said the Blues leadership grew. I mean, you look at the end of last season when they were chasing a playoff spot, they played as a team. Coach Bannister also went on and said it's about the team, not individuals. He also said that this year it's a new team, move on, new year. Last year has nothing to do with it. So I think that you have a coach that can acknowledge, yeah, last year kind of sucked. Okay. But this is a new team and new year. Also, by the way, Kapanen and Texier will be okay today. I know that they didn't practice yesterday, but they will be okay and good to go. Bannister said as well. So that is an update on them. We talked a lot in today's episode. If I had to give a final score prediction, I think it's going to be 4-2 St. Louis Blues. But we shall see. All I'm hoping is for a win against the San Jose Sharks, because I'm pretty sure if I'm looking at my stats correctly, I always check my little ESPN stat sheet just because, a girl likes to look at her stats over here. The last time that the Blues beat the Sharks was in March of 2023. Yeah, not good. So let's hope for a dub tonight. And I will talk to you on an Are We Feeling Blue Friday. Hopefully we are feeling good. Hopefully. All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.